The other night on Bill O'Reilly's program on Fox News, he was doing a segment on child abuse, child molestation, child sex abuse, 63,000 children sexually molested in the United States of America. And he had the reasons why. And this is what he connected to child sex abuse.
Why is this happening in our nation? There are a number of reasons. Traditional codes of conduct have broken down. Right now, we have a presidential candidate, Ron Paul, who wants to legalize narcotics. Paul well knows that would put drugs into the hands of children far more than they are today. You want proof? Look at the OxyContin epidemic. That's a legal drug obtained by prescription. It is everywhere right now, and it is as powerful as heroin.
Our guest, Jack Hunter, is the official campaign blogger for Ron Paul 2012 election campaign. Mr. Hunter has seen a lot of attacks on Congressman Paul throughout his many years, but I would have to imagine that this certainly has to be a new low or pretty close to it. He's the author of The Tea Party Goes to Washington, The Southern Avenger. Jack Hunter, welcome back to the show.
How completely disgusting is that, Jerry? Good to be with you.
I heard that, and Bill O'Reilly's got it in for me for whatever reason or reasons. I get that. But I don't know whether that was a roundabout way. He's had it in for Ron Paul from the get-go, dismissing poll results because Bill O'Reilly, didn't like the poll results. But, I mean, this is something that doesn't seem to be bothering a lot of people in the Republican Party who are so concerned about the, quote, elite media.
Well, that's exactly right. And if Mr. O'Reilly was going to talk about the moral decadence of this country or sort of defining deviancy down, which is sort of the gist of what he's talking about, why not start with a Republican frontrunner who we know has had infidelity and there's a question of open marriage, instead of a guy who's been married to his wife for 54 years and by all, I mean, you see what I'm getting at. The main point is, and you've made this point repeatedly, Bill O'Reilly does not like Ron Paul. Any stick will do to beat a dog, as goes the old saying. So he's trying to make this absurd link that somehow Ron's position on, or Congressman Paul's position on being against the federal war on drugs is somehow pro-drug. Well, that would have been surprising to National Review founder Bill Buckley, who essentially agreed 100% with Ron Paul on the drug issue. That would have been a hell of a surprise to Milton Friedman, a hero to many conservatives, including this one right here, who essentially agreed with Ron Paul on the drug issue. Now, this is something the Republican Party needs to talk about. For Bill O'Reilly to be so intellectually shallow and so arrogant in the way he portrays that issue, it's completely disgusting. It's completely dishonest, and you're right to call him out on it.
What would be at the core the reason that Mr. Moralistic sex scandal Bill O'Reilly would have to have such an aversion to Congressman Paul?
Well, Bill O'Reilly tries to, he says his station says fair and balanced. I guess he says he's the voice of reason and he's supposed to be objective. Now, he sees the world as it is according to Bill O'Reilly, and that's usually the status quo must maintain, that we have to keep conventional politics as usual, however he wants to frame it. Ron Paul poses a challenge to politics as usual in this country. Everybody knows that, even his critics, and that's why you're seeing so much fear from not only guys like Bill O'Reilly, but many on the left and right, that he's asking questions you're not supposed to ask out loud in American politics. Bill O'Reilly brings up the drug issue. You can bring up foreign policy. You can bring up things like the gold standard and whatnot. He's introducing new ideas into the system that guys like Bill O'Reilly are going to resist wholesale. So they're going to do anything they can to tamper that down and keep this guy down, because and he's getting a following, and that's Bill O'Reilly doesn't like that. And he's not alone.
And you hear Congressman Paul's comments about, we're a threat to the status quo. The status quo obviously has built up their status quo cachet. They're making a lot of money selling television commercials and doormats and concert tickets and books and all that. I get it. Nothing wrong with that. But the status quo may be working for Bill O'Reilly, and it may be working for Fox or CNN or MSNBC, but it doesn't seem to be working for us as a whole, as a nation.
Well, that's exactly right. We've got to change things. The center cannot hold because there's nothing to hold anymore. We're out of money. Things are crazy. Everything's breaking loose. That's sort of what Ron Paul's campaign has been about, running for president, looking at not only President Obama in the White House, but the other Republicans on stage and saying, guys, We can't continue with business as usual. Bill O'Reilly stands for business as usual. I don't care what he wants to say. And, he sort of goes for this gut instinct that, many Americans would have concerns if certain drugs were made legal and whatnot, and that's reasonable. But the idea that you would question that or the policies, that means you're pro-drug, or as he put it, would put it in the hands of kids, and that Ron Paul understands this, that is a complete misportrayal of Congressman Paul and what he stands for. Many people on the conservative movement have been arguing about the utter failure of the federal war on drugs for years. For years. I brought up Bill Buckley and Milton Friedman earlier, and those are two giants. Does Bill O'Reilly think that Milton Friedman and Bill Buckley want to destroy America's youth? Is he going to go that far? But he wouldn't make that intellectual connection. I wouldn't expect that.
How much have we spent on the war on drugs, which I do believe is an abject failure, but a success for many who are making a lot of money in the supposed war on drugs?
We've spent far too much, not only in dollars, but in lives. And that's the point that is made repeatedly. It was made by Buckley, it was made by Friedman, it's made by Ron Paul today, that the war on drugs is worse than drugs. That's what they're saying. I'm anti-drug. Most people, especially conservatives, are anti-drug. But I don't think that we should, it's like prohibition. Back there in the day, alcohol, people still drank it. It was an utter failure. We finally admitted that. We realized that the laws against drinking alcohol were worse than alcohol abuse. That's where we stand right now. That a guy like Bill O'Reilly thinks it's controversial to even discuss maybe marijuana not being illegal or medicinal marijuana or anything like that. That's where America's at. Many polls show that many Americans are changing their minds on that. It is a challenge to the status quo that Bill O'Reilly and his ilk do not like. And that's why they'll go to those sort of disgusting lengths to discredit Paul.
And hopefully it goes no lower than that. But, in the fair and unbalanced nature of Bill O'Reilly, you never know what he's got up his sleeve next. Jack Hunter, I got to take a break. Thanks for your time on the program. Mr. Hunter is the author of The Tea Party Goes to Washington, Amazon.com. He's known as the Southern Avenger. SouthernAvenger.com is his website. RonPaul2012.com, the campaign website. You can follow him on Twitter at Southern Avenger, and you can follow him as the official campaign blogger for Ron Paul 2012. Jack, I appreciate your time again, and we'll wait to see what the future holds with the fair and unbalanced one, Bill O'Reilly.
We certainly will. Always good to be with you, Jerry.
Thanks, Jack. I look at this and you go, oh, okay, maybe it was something where it was just a bridge too far. But this would be something that you would think would be a walkback by O'Reilly, or at least something where he would say, maybe I misconveyed what I was attempting to do in my concern for the children. And if I left any impression that I would be blaming Congressman Paul for sexual abuse of children in America, that certainly was not my intent. But I would have to say in this case, pinhead or patriot, Bill O'Reilly is the uber pinhead. He wouldn't recognize the patriotic thing to do if it smacked him in his face with his own fair and balanced doormat. 800-876-4123 is the number. A lot to get to in the third hour of the show today. I'm Jerry Doyle. Stick with me.
Where's Ron Paul? We disqualified him.
Here's my job. My job to be fair.
Jerry Doyle.